Shri Mataji. In this episode of NGP series of online seminars and workshops, we welcome all the Sahajogis. This program will be conducted in English. Last year, we covered one aspect of Atma, Chit and Brain and the Atma-Jivatma difference in the NGP seminar on Shiva Tattva. In this session, we will try and cover another very important topic of another aspect of Shiv Tattva, which is Sat-Chit-Ananda. As we all know and have heard about Sri Sadashiv being Sat-Chit-Ananda, how to reach this state and what needs to be done from our side to reach it is what we will cover today. So in this session, we will be covering four aspects. First, what is the meaning of Sat and Chit? Second, what should we do from our side to become one with Sat-Chit-Ananda? 3. What is the Anand and how do we feel it? And finally, a beautiful description of the state of Ananda as explained by Shri Mataji. Then we will all meditate and absorb this great essence of Sat-Chit-Ananda. Pray to the great goddess who is the only one who can give us the experience. So come, let us all pray to the great goddess. Sakshat Shri Sadashiva, Sakshat Shri Mataji, Nirmala Devi, to understand this very difficult and subtle topic of Sat-Chit-Ananda. Shri Mataji, you are the only one who can explain this wonderful aspect, which, as you say, is the basis on which the whole of Sahajoga stands. We are just your humble facilitators only. The Gyan or the knowledge only you can impart. Please explain this topic and let us understand it the way you would like us to understand. We are only your mere instruments. Our attempt in this session is to bring an introduction to your various talks on Atma and create an interest in the journey of understanding the Atma, which is a very, very subtle aspect. We will take this further by listening to the full lectures and listen to it again and again till we understand and implement it completely, truly within our hearts. Now let us all raise our Kundalini and give a bandhan. Let us all now take the three Mahamantras collectively. Jai Shri Mataji.
Shri God bless you. May God bless you all. May God bless you all. May God bless you all.
Jai Shri Mataji. What is Sat and Chit? We will now listen to this extremely subtle speech which Shri Mataji gave in 1977 in New Delhi called Sat-Chit-Ananda to understand the meaning of the words Sat and Chit. We have taken 3 or 4 excerpts from this speech to bring out this context for this seminar. However, it is our humble request to all of you to please go through the complete speech to understand it in totality. In the first part of the excerpt, she explains that as we know, in our heart resides the Atma or the spirit. It is that principle within which erupts in our heart like a light which is always awakened. It starts as a flicker. This Atma is a witness of all our everyday work that we do, our different moods, our ups and downs in life, our lust, our desires, and our efforts which we put in. This Atma or spirit, as we know, is also the reflection of the Paramatma or Sadashiva on each of our body, which is like a reflector. God is only one, which is Paramatma or Sadashiva is only one. However, his reflection on each of us is the Atma. When the Kundalini enters into the fetus, along with that, the Atma also enters into our body and stays in our heart as a witness. Now, in this wonderful speech, Sat-Chit-Ananda, as Shri Mataji explains, is the complete Parabrahma, or as she calls it, super consciousness, the Param Chaitanya. It is there where everywhere and everything is engulfed in it. It does everything. It is the reality. And hence, where the Chit falls, it acts, which means where our attention falls, it acts. And it is also the bestower of joy. It is the creator. Now within us, we also have its reflection of the super consciousness, the Sat-Chit-Ananda, as we understood last time in our session of Atma, as Sat is, or the truth, is reflected as the Atma. Chit, or the attention, is reflected in our own attention in the liver. And the brain, or the Sahasrara, is the Virat, where we can feel the Anand, or the joy. So our individual attention is the consciousness within us by which we feel. So when our Chit is on listening to this seminar, we can hear and understand it. And when our attention is able to go beyond thoughts as the Agya, we come into the state of thoughtless awareness. Then we reach a place called Vilam, where there is no thought. And there, if we can remain, then we reach the state of conscious mind, and here we are able to feel the Sat-Chit-Ananda, the super consciousness. Sat, simply translated, is truth. Chit, translated, is attention, and Anand, translated, is joy. So she explains that Sat-Chit-Ananda, or truth, attention, joy, is a state of our mind where we can feel the super consciousness. So by Shri Mataji's grace, when our Kundalini rises, she takes us beyond this mind into the limbic area, where we can feel the truth, or the Sat part of Sat-Chit-Ananda, or truth, attention, joy. This means we start feeling the vibrations. We feel a state of nirvichar samadhi or thoughtless awareness. And this is the first state. It means we have understood reality for the first time and we start separating the untruth from the truth. This is the Sat part or the part which is called truth. Here we become aware. But Shri Mataji says we have still not touched the collective chit or collective attention part of it yet. Our attention is touched by the truth part and hence we feel vibrations. However, if we remain at this very sensitive point in our brain, it is not good. We may easily slip into the subconscious mind on the left or the supraconscious mind on the right, and then we get into troubles. And even though we may get some powers, like we can talk a lot about Sahaj Yoga, Kundalini, etc., and impress others on supraconsciousness side, else if we fall into the subconscious, we start getting doubts about ourselves. The hopeless feeling that, oh God, how much we need to learn, and so on and so on. So she mentions that the opening of the Brahmarandra and the Kundalini coming out is important. When the Brahmarandra opens, we feel the Param Chaitanya, and then we can feel ourselves as well as vibrations of others. We become part and parcel of the collective consciousness. This is the next stage we touch. So now we become the Chit part of it. That is the attention part of it, but not the Anand or the joy part of it. That means now we can feel the Kundalini of another person. By Shri Mataji's grace and photo, we can give realization and also be a channel for the vibrations to help cure another person and ourselves. But she says we have still not touched the joy or the Anand part of it. So our own individual attention becomes a drop into the ocean of the collective attention or the collective Sat-Chit-Ananda, which means the truth, attention and joy, and that to the collective attention, which is the actual doer. Sat is the reality of God and the collective attention is the doer. And when we or our attention becomes a drop and becomes one with that super consciousness, we touch the attention part of it or the chitta part of it. Hence, at this stage, we say yes, vibrations are coming. It worked out spontaneously. We put our hand there and Kundalini was awakened by God's grace. So we get out of the control of our ego and merge it in the collective Mahat Ahankar or the collective ego. Shree Mataji gives an example that one of the yogi's father was not well and he could feel that his father's Vishuddhi was not good. He called his mother and she said, yes, he is having a throat problem. So he put his attention on his father's Vishuddhi and gave a bandhan, and the father was cured, who was sitting far away, not near him, in another city. But there is no ego in this. She says it worked out just because when our individual attention becomes one with the collective attention, that Param Chaitanya does everything, and we know it is not done by us but by the divine. So if we realize this point, then it works out, and then such a subtle and humble attention of ours can become very dynamic. But for that, we need to touch the next stage after thoughtless awareness, which is called doubtless awareness or nirvikalpa, where there is no doubt about this power, and when we give a bandhan, it works. Shri Mataji explains this nirvikalpa or doubtless stage very beautifully through an analogy. She says, before realization, we are in the water and drowning all the time. As soon as we get realization, we are saved and are as if we have come into a boat and are now safe. However, while sitting in a boat, we still have doubts. Now, if there's a hole and then water will start coming, what will we do? Or if there's a big wave, what will happen? Hence, we have still not reached the doubtless stage. So, when do we reach the doubtless stage? She says, when we fully believe we are on the boat and we are really saved. That is the state of mind which is called the nirvikalpa or the doubtless stage. Then the attention becomes very subtle and powerful. So the next question is, how do you make this attention subtle? We will understand this through the next speech. However, come, let us understand this aspect of Sat Chit or truth attention from this wonderful speech of Sat-Chit-Ananda in 1977, which was given by Shri Mataji in New Delhi. Jai Shri Mataji.
तो आज मैं बताने वाली थी आपसे उस तत्व के बारे में जो अक्षर है, जिसको सच्चिदानंद के नाम से लोग जानते हैं। वो तत्व जो हमारे हृदय में एक दीप जैसे प्रस्फुटित है, जो हर समय स्फुरित रहता है, जो हमारे हरेक काम काज, हमारा हरेक चढ़ना उतरना, हमारी हरेक लालसा, हमारी वासनाएं और हमारे प्रयत्न, हमारी इच्छाएं, हर चीज का साक्षी, उसका वास हमारे हृदय में रहता है। वो तत्व कुंडलिनी के साथ ही साथ हमारे हृदय में प्रवेश करता है। जैसे ही कुंडलिनी हमारे, जैसे मैंने आपसे बताया था कि त्रिकोणाकार सर के जो शिखर है वहां से अंदर आ जाती है और आकर के 3.5 कुंडलों में अपने त्रिकोणाकार अस्थि में प्रतिष्ठित हो जाती है। सबको समझ में आ रहा है कि अंग्रेजी या हिंदी या ऐसा कुछ मतलब है? कुछ चित्त जरा विचलित है। एवरीबडी कैन अंडरस्टैंड हिंदी? कि बड़ी कठिन मैं बोल रही हूँ हिंदी? जरा जरूरत से ज्यादा है क्या? ठीक है, सबके समझ में आ रही? हाँ, कांट फॉलो? हाँ, so that will be too much. If I say in English, will you all follow? Yes. हिंदी सीखना चाहिए बेटे, जरूरी है। इसलिए एक बात तुमसे बताऊं, अंग्रेजी के विरोध में मैं नहीं हूँ, तो इंटरनेशनल वगैरह अच्छा ठीक, लेकिन आत्मा की भाषा तो संस्कृत है बेटा, इसमें कोई शंका। आत्मा के ऊपर इन लोगों ने ध्यान कब दिया? कभी नहीं। They have never bothered about the spirit. You see, so we have to use some common language which speaks about Atma. English language is not sufficient enough, I must tell you. They do not have those experiences because, you see, so far they have not gone deep into it. And we are very old people, ancient people. Our culture has been to know God, and everything has come in Sanskrit because Sanskrit is really a Devavani. Apart from that, when the Kundalini moves, she makes sounds. She makes different sounds they are really Devanagari sounds. All of them are. On all different chakras they are. If I have time, I will tell you all those sounds that it makes. So our Sanskrit is really a Devavani, and even when you say mantras, then through the Sanskrit language or Devanagari, pronunciations only, you can excite them better. So, we were talking about Sat-Chit-Ananda. Again, I have to use Sanskrit words. See now, what can I do? Sat-Chit-Ananda is the super consciousness, the all-pervading power. Chit is attention, the consciousness. Conscious. You are just now conscious, listening to me. Every moment you are conscious. But every moment is becoming dead into the past. Every moment coming from the future to the present. But you are conscious at this moment, listening to it. A thought rises like this and falls. You can see the rising of the thought, but not the falling of the thought. In between the thoughts, there is a space, which in Sanskrit we call it as vilamba. Of course, in English language there isn't, because they haven't found it out. So there is a vilamba. And in that vilamba, if you can stop, then you get to the conscious mind, and there exists the Sat-Chit-Ananda. Sat-Chit-Ananda is the condition of mind, you can say, or is the state of mind where there is no thought but you are aware. First, there is no thought, nirvichar, but you are aware. That is the first state where you jump into the superconscious. So some people may think that by realization you must achieve something as Adi Shankaracharya had. It's not possible. With some it may be, with very few. But not with everyone. First state is nirvichar. You become thoughtlessly aware. That's just the first state. That happens when the Kundalini rises above the Agya Chakra, means enters into the limbic area. At that time, your attention just touches the Sat point. The Sat. The reality separates from Mithya. You are separated. You become two personalities. At that state, you start separating. Like in the milk, when you put yogurt, or you can say if you put lime, it starts separating into water and the curd. In the same way, the beginning starts. The beginning. This is the state where you can say the Kundalini has been awakened only. We must understand the different stages as it happens. I am giving you a very slow picture. But normally the Kundalini shoots off in most of the people. But in some people it does not. It takes time. It is lost in the Swadhisthana. It is lost into the Nabhi. It doesn't go much higher. It is arrested by Hridaya Chakra, or maybe it may not even rise at all. But in case it crosses this door of Agya Chakra, then you get into the state of thoughtless aware. With thoughtless awareness, as like whatever state you get, supposing you become a governor, so you get a certain power. With that, you get certain powers. But at this state, to leave the Kundalini is not a good thing. Because the Kundalini can at that stage start moving this side and that side, can possibly, so can go to the supraconscious or can go to the subconscious, collective subconscious. The siddhis people get mostly at this stage. Some of the, not the Shudra siddhis, but the higher siddhis, like you see, they can predict. They can say this is going to happen if the Kundalini has moved to the supraconscious. If the Kundalini has moved to the collective subconscious, then they can start seeing things. You see, a person who is like that, he comes to me, he can see who I was in my previous lives. I do not have to convince them. This is the same thing as anybody who is possessed gets. A person who takes drugs, supposing he is a real alcoholic of the last word, and is a good soul, he is still seeking God. Such a person can see me in a different form. He can see my past. He can be very much enamored by me. He would know that I was, because you see, people think the past is greater than the present always. Because the past has been much greater than today's, though I have never given realization to anyone previously. But it was a great past, because human beings are like that. So, he gets enamored when he sees things like that. This happens with people who are on the supraconscious level if they move out. If they move out, this happens to people if they move out onto the left-hand side, that is into the past. So at that stage, I would not like to leave your Kundalini, because you can cure people. Curative can be done with your Kundalini is even in the limbic area. I am very anxious always that it should come out of the Brahmarandra. At that stage, you start getting the vibration. But at this stage, you are just a chitta only. And you just touch Sat point. Your attention is only charmed by the spirit. Only the attention part. Spirit, as I told you, is like a flicker of light in a gas lamp. And Kundalini is like a gas which touches the spirit, and the light of the spirit spreads in the central nervous system. But only the chitta part, the outer core is the chitta, means the attention part. At that stage, when the Kundalini opens the Brahmarandra, at that time what you feel is the vibrations from your hand, and you can feel the another person also, because you become collectively conscious. Collectively conscious only. Again, out of the Sat-Chit-Ananda, you just touch the chitta part. So you start feeling the chitta of your chitta becoming the chitta of the collective consciousness. Means you drop into the ocean of Sat-Chit-Ananda, in which you only feel the collective consciousness. That means you can feel another person's Kundalini. So you just feel the chitta, not the Ananda part. First stage is only chitta, that you feel the Kundalini of another person. You can raise the Kundalini of another person. You can give realization also after a little while to another person. Of course, my photograph has to be used, but still you can. But the Ananda stage is not yet touch. So in the beginning, you just feel the cold breeze in the hand. You feel the peace, tranquility also. There's no thought. You feel the thoughtless awareness. But the Ananda part is not felt at the first outset. Because now I have studied thousands of human beings and I have seen their problems, and this is a fact. So the first stage when you come, it is the chitta stage, the consciousness stage. You touch the Sat, means you start seeing the reality, is one thing that you are flowing. There's something flowing. Then you start saying it's going, it's coming. Just now you said it's coming. You didn't say I am receiving, I am giving. That I goes out of your language. But still the ego and superego are not completely gone down. They are still there, but your attention has come up and you feel the Chit. With this collective consciousness, you can cure people, you can give them realization, as I told, and also you can feel the Kundalini of any person in the whole world. And also you can cure the Kundalini of that person. I mean, cure the, not the Kundalini, but I am saying the cure the chakras or improve the chakras of the other person. Sitting down here, you can do. You can tell about the condition of the Kundalini of another person sitting down here. If you take interest. Wherever your attention goes, it works. Chitta. So your attention becomes universal. Your drop of your attention becomes one with the ocean of Sat-Chit-Ananda. Out of that, the attention part only. Listen to me for this very carefully, because many people at this stage drop out. Only the attention becomes effective wherever they put attention. Sitting down here, now I'll tell you about a disciple of mine who has come from England. One day he was sitting and he was thinking of his father. Suddenly he got a burning on his finger, this finger. So he rang up his father. He said, how are you keeping? So the mother said that he's very sick, he has got throat trouble. This boy did something to his finger and all that, the father got all right. He can do it. Now, he might think he is very powerful. He does not. He does not. He cannot think that. He cannot think. You see, because the hole has been made there. So he just says, mother, I felt it and I did like this, and he was all right. He never says that I cured. I goes out. In the language, in the words that you don't say I did it. You said it came, it went, it did. It's not coming up. So the three things, how you enjoy Nirvichar Samadhi, as they call it. Samadhi doesn't mean going into unconscious. But the unconscious become conscious. Whatever is not yet conscious becomes conscious. The unconscious, the universal unconscious become conscious. So this is the first stage when it takes. There are many things like this and variety of things. Then the second stage where you become nirvikalpa, where there is no vikalpa. Just now in Delhi there are very few who are like that. Very few. Because first of all by temperament they are vikalpis. The reason is here is a complete atmosphere of vikalpa. If you say something, another will pull you down by saying something else. So the thing is, the whole atmosphere is so vikalpi that you are not yet settled about it, about the Sahaja. Still in vikalpa. But we have some very great Sahajogis also in Delhi, very great. So the vikalpa is there. Now you will say, how do you become nirvikalpa? Supposing you are in the water, you are afraid of getting drowned. You are picked up and put in the boat. So you are not afraid of becoming drowned. But when are you settled? When you are settled. I mean, it is such a state that when are you settled in a boat? When you are settled in a boat. I mean, that's how I can answer it. You have to be settled. But with that you get certain powers. Your Kundalini starts showing. You see, we have in Bombay some people whose Kundalini is at least 1 foot higher. 1 foot high. You can see. You can or may not, but so many people can see that. And they are a very deep people. Very deep. At the Nirvikalpa state, the collective consciousness becomes very subtler. At that stage, you can understand very deep significances of things. And the reality starts becoming clearer. For example, you start understanding the working of the Kundalini. You start understanding how it penetrates. You start understanding how it works out. You can use it for experimentation with your own hand. You can move it as you like it. You can cure people and you can show the Kundalini is working in different ways. You can combine and permutations and combinations of Kundalini you can do. You can say that in the first year of music, you just learned the 7 notes and 2 other notes, just that, and ordinary ragas. But when you grow subtler and higher, then you know all the minute points, how to create. So at the Nirvikalpa, you need not put your hand towards a person, nothing sitting down, you know where it is, what is happening, who is catching, what is the problem, what is the collective problem. Then you have no doubts about Sahajog, nor about Kundalini, nor about anything, no doubts at all. But at that time you start experimenting with it. You start using it. Mastery starts. At this stage, the chitta, the consciousness becomes subtle. Now somebody was sitting with me. Outside they knew that this gentleman is going to get realization. They knew that mother was giving realization to someone. Such people are very satisfied people. They do not grudge and grumble about small things. They do not enter into small things at all. They are not bothered. They live in a big way. They are not touched. Their attention is in the gross. They have no time for outside gross things. So their attention is very deep into the subtle forms. They are not bothered. Such people are satisfied souls. Such people are the ones who are going to create a pillar for Sahaja Yoga. Because when somebody sees such a person, a transformed person like that, shocked, says, look at this man. He's such a great person. And he was such a horrid man, and how has he become like this? How is he transformed? At this stage, at the Nirvikalpa stage, the vibrations emit. Then you can sit with me now. You study. Then there is no questioning at all. And such a man can get into a terrible temper if he sees somebody misbehaving with me. Can't bear misbehavior with me. Christ said, forgive all those because they do not know what they are doing. But supposing they had done anything against his mother, he would not have forgiven even this much, I can tell you, even this much. And in the Bible it is written that nothing will be tolerated against the Holy Ghost, and Holy Ghost is his own mother, is the Adi Shakti.
Jai Shri Mataji. We just now heard about the state of Nirvikalpa. And in that state, our attention becomes very subtle. And then such an attention transforms a person completely. We call this as we become a Sahaj Yogi. The becoming happens. So now the question is how to make our attention subtle. We will try and understand this point from Shri Mataji's another wonderful lecture, which is called Attention and Joy, which was given in Bordi, 1977, 27th of January. It's also an audio. And she has touched an extreme subtle subject about attention and how to make it subtle. So first, she asks a question as to where is the attention in a human body, in a human being. Where is the attention? Now this attention is not at a fixed point. It is everywhere. She calls it as it is on the surface of our awareness. Wherever our awareness is going, our attention is pulled to that point. She gives a very excellent example. She says our attention is like the iron filings. Wherever the magnet is placed, those filings move towards the magnet. Same way, wherever our attention is attracted to, wherever our interest is there, our attention is drawn to that. And usually it is outside, on the gross body, it is outside on other problems, and it can come inside also. If, let's say, example, in the body there's a pain or there's a problem, we can concentrate at that point. Then the attention goes there. So this attention floats over the nerves And even if there is a numbness of the nerves, we can keep our attention there. She gives some examples. Another important point that she says is that there are points on the Sushumna node, on the chakras. And when our attention hits those points, then we cannot even think. We become thoughtless. That means there is no thought which comes, and even though we are aware our attention is there, but there is no thoughts. But at this point, we become conscious of the Paramachaitanya. She also explains a detailed point about, there's a triangle which is formed between the Vishuddhi, the brain, and the Ajna chakra. And that's a very interesting point which we will understand from her. So the situation is that when we get our self-realization, our attention which was on the gross now becomes subtle, and we can start feeling our chakras. When we become more subtle, we can feel also the chakras of others. So this new awareness comes. And as in the previous speech that we understood, that when the Kundalini rises, it is like a gas. It ignites the Atma, which is like a flicker. And as it ignites that Atma, the flicker, the light fills our awareness. And that grace, as we call as the Parama Chaitanya, which is the light of the Atma, starts communicating to us, guiding us. And this, for the first time, we realize the truth. And for that, the attention has to become subtle, so that we can understand deeper things about life, which a normal non-self-realization we can't understand. So she gives a very beautiful example about how awareness becomes subtle, that a bird can see a flower but cannot understand the beauty, whereas an unrealized person can see the beauty of a flower but cannot feel the vibrations of the flower because he is not subtle. Whereas after realization, because our attention is subtle, we are able to feel the subtler aspect of vibrations. So the question again is, how to make this attention subtle? So when we start paying attention to where our attention is going, is it still going into the gross or day-to-day mundane actions, or is it coming towards the feeling of the new awareness of vibrations, where we can feel the light of the Atma in the brain? And if we practice, the more we practice, the more we become subtle. Shri Mataji again gives another example. Actually, she gives many examples of why our attention goes outside. And one of the example is that, for example, when we get self-realization, we feel it first. But immediately our attention goes on the outside and we go out and start reading books and we want to tally it. So even after we feel the experience in the subtle, we still go out onto the gross. And she gives many examples why we go on the gross, and there is a video of that part of the extract separately. But otherwise, I would we would suggest that you should see this whole go through this whole lecture. It is extremely wonderful. She also says that if we have a physical disease, sometimes it is better because we feel a relief. That means we feel a joy. That joy can be called as, it's the joy of the Sharira. The Sharira gets relaxed, your Sharira Anand, and we feel the joy. But again, if we don't go more subtler to feel the ultimate joy, then we get lost again. So at that point, we have to just enjoy, just like how you enjoy a flower, or how children just enjoy without thinking. That's a state of subtlety. So the solution lies in making the attention subtler. So how do we do it? Is another very important aspect which is in the last part of the speech, of this extract. That we cannot fix our attention anywhere. Now, from since we were small, we have been told that we need to concentrate. And in many books it is said, we should concentrate on Ajna chakra. But Shri Mataji says if you concentrate on Ajna or any other chakra, it will break. So we learned in the beginning of the speech that if we make our attention subtle, that means those points on the Sushumna, on the chakras, or at the Ajna and the Vishuddhi, the moment it floats there without any effort. This is a very important point. Without any effort, the super consciousness, which is this on the top of our head, it just pulls the attention towards it, because the Kundalini, once we leave our effort, just takes it and drops it into the Sat-Chit-Ananda. We suddenly reach that point without effort. Now, this is the very important aspect. And then we get lost into the world of vibrations. We get lost because we don't have thought. We go beyond the thought. But effort should not be put. So if we put effort that saying, okay, we will keep attention on the Sahasrara, then above the Sahasrara, there are many chakras above that. We will say the words that it should get merged with the Sat-Chit-Ananda. We will get a headache. So the important point is just to let it go. And the key here is that we have to surrender at the Sushumna to become completely completely effortless, to make our attention extremely light, to make it subtle, to ensure that we do not again get into the gross. And then the Kundalini does the rest, and then we start feeling the vibrations. Shri Mataji ultimately says that we should just think of vibrations. We should eat vibrations. We should drink vibrations. And at the end of it, we have to enjoy it. That means the joy starts pouring into us without effort, with complete surrender. So this is the key of this lecture. So come, let us listen to this extremely subtle speech of attention, joy, 1977, 27th January. Jai Shri Mataji.
Wobbling too much, and how to fix the attention. Now the quality of attention changes according to the state of your evolution. For example, in an animal, so where is the attention placed? In the human being, it is not a fixed point. We can say attention is the surface or the edge of awareness. Wherever we are made aware, the attention gets diverted to that point. If you can find from an analogy, all the files of iron have got a power to be attracted towards a magnet. Where is that power? You cannot look it. It is all over. Wherever the magnet is placed, the files are attracted. Our attention is also like that. That wherever we are attracted, our attention goes there. It is existing in the whole body, in the sense that it can be diverted anywhere outside the body. Also inside the body, in case if there is any pain or there is any trouble. it floats over the nerves. It floats over the whole nervous system. But there is a controlling center in the brain. If it is hit, then we can remain conscious but without any attention. Also, if somebody is hit on the Vishuddhi chakra, it can happen. It can happen even in the lower chakras. If somebody is hit, that portion will lose its attention because you cannot feel. In that part, the difference is this, that you can pay attention to those points if you want to, even if they are numbed. For example, if my hand is numb, I can pay attention to that. Means I can look at it, I can think of it. But there is a point in our being, if that is hit, then we cannot even think. We are just lying, unconscious, they say, but eyes are open, hands are moving, legs are moving. That point is at the point of Vishuddhi chakra here. And if you can draw a line from here to the point where is the pita of Vishuddhi chakra is inside the brain. Along that line, if you are hit anywhere, you become attentionless. You cannot pay attention anymore. This line passes through also Agya chakra. Because when this point is connected with Vishuddhi chakra at the back, then here and at the pita inside, there are kind of a triangle is formed. And all this line or this area can affect your attention. Your heart is moving, your limbs are moving, but you are not paying attention anywhere. So when you pay attention to something, actually you pay attention normally when you are not realized through your brain centers. After realization, you can pay attention through your other centers also. You do pay. This is a very big difference between a person who is realized and who is not realized. Or you can say that you can become effective through your other centers by paying attention to them. You can feel yet centers which are obstructed in your body, which you never felt before. Not only that, but you can feel the centers of other people. That means your central nervous system is being blessed by a new awareness by which it can convey to you, communicate to you the attention paid by your centers, and also it can take your attention in a subtler way into the centers of others. So, first thing that happens to you is that your attention becomes subtler. Attention becoming subtler means you start understanding deeper things. For example, a bird can see a flower but cannot feel the beauty of a flower. And a unrealized person can see the beauty of a flower but cannot see the vibrations of the flower. So you become subtler, your attention becomes subtler. You definitely are at a higher evolutionary stage than the other people are. Now, we have to see how we use our attention. You have seen, even when you were not realized, that supposing you start developing an art in your hand from your very childhood, then you develop the deftness of that particular art, because a kind of a myelin sheath grows on the nerve. In the same way, when you are realized, I would say when you are a newly born person, if you start respecting your attention, then gradually you develop a deftness for things. But so many people, when they get realized, they hardly come second time. Even if they come second time, they do not develop the feeling of vibrations more. They still go on being busy with their day-to-day work, wasting their attention on things which do not give you the subtler feeling. So, the subtleness, the deftness of the art of Sahaja does not develop. For example, I would say a person who is overread.
May God bless you.
As soon as he gets his realization, he starts tallying it with what he has read. This makes his attention again wasted. As it is, his attention has been fixed by these conventional ideas.
May
Some
God
of them are
bless you
correct,
all.
some are incorrect,
May
some
God
are
bless
absolutely false. Some are
May God
useless.
bless you all.
Some are only because they wanted to make money, they have published some trash. As soon as you get realization, you go back to your own gross awareness and start tallying this subtle with the gross. You start again losing the vibration. Actually, after getting realization, I have seen with small children, they sleep for very long hours. They become little inactive for some time. But if an elder gets it, he will immediately go to the bookstall, buy one book on Kundalini, and start reading about it. Then some of you, not understanding that you have become somebody else, take it for granted, all right, Mataji has been very kind. As she says, I am par, but how am I to believe? As if by believing it, they are going to give some money to me, or I don't know what they are going to give. I can see the vibrations coming, but what's the use of getting the vibrations? Why did she give us vibrations? Again, come back to the gross idea of utility. Because that's human nature has been so far, to make everything into utility. Everything must be utilized, you see. Man thinks no end of himself. So he starts putting his realization into utility. What utility it has, how many people are going to get it, what is going to happen, what is the ratio, what is the schedule, what is this, what is that. You have been given this subtleness to enjoy. Like, if we enjoy the beauty of flower, we just enjoy. Do we go to the books and find out what should we do about this enjoyment of ours, how to enjoy this flower, and then what to do, and who has described about the flowers? So let us see if this is fitting into that. But it's done very commonly, and I really don't know how to say, because it's such a foolish thing. And I'm only afraid that sometimes if I say, they will feel hurt, and as human beings are, they get hurt for nothing at all. That's very foolish. Children are very sensible that way. Once they get it, they start enjoying it. They just enjoy it. They just sleep off. They are not bothered. They think that's something that is to be enjoyed. Let us enjoy it. So at the very outset, it happens like that. And a man doesn't know that how he has made himself even much more gross than he was ever in this Kali Yuga, in these modern times. By organizing things according to his own ideas and conceptions, he's become so unnatural, so foolish, that discrimination between joy and ugliness he does not have. He is so confused. So first of all, it is not only one reason, but there are many reasons. And as I described to you, inherently it is the human gross activities before realization. If we understand the disease from where it has come, sometimes it's easier to correct it. You cannot just correct the disease without understanding the history behind it. If you are a student of history, you will know how human beings have behaved. I mean, you just start wondering what's wrong with these people. God created one world. I mean, just think a person like me coming on this earth. Suddenly you find there are so many countries being created. All right, create it. You can have separate countries if you cannot manage the whole world together. But then the fighting going on. killing each other, all kinds of problems for nothing at all. I mean, it's such a madhouse. So historically, if you see how man has made himself mad, it's not easy to compile all that in one lecture. You'll have to write volumes. I think there are already written volumes. So there is historical background which has spoilt your attention. Physically, those who come for physical handicap or physical trouble or something like that because they are sick are sometimes little better than the people who do not have this, because they definitely get the relief part of the joy. If they get the relief, there is a little shadow of joy that they feel, and then they start understanding that it is to be enjoyed. But I would say, they too, once they get the relief, they just disappear. Not understanding that there is something greater than this to be tasted and enjoyed. And the physical enjoyment in Sahaja Yoga itself is sufficient to keep your attention subtle. You do not have to fix your attention, but you have to get subtler and subtler in your attention. Fixing of your attention, as you know, is a very wrong method. That was done by some yogis, and you know what is the result of that. Their chakras were all broken and finished. When they fix their attention onto Agya Chakra, you have seen that Agya Chakra is broken. You are not to fix any attention, but you have to make your attention subtler and subtler. As I told you that a magnet, when brought, say, near the stones, nothing happens to the stones. They are just there. You move the magnet any way you like. But when you take it to the iron filings only, the filings are attracted towards the magnet. In the same way, the attention of a Sahaja Yogi should be so subtle that he should feel the vibrations. He should think of vibration. He should eat vibration, drink vibration, and enjoy them.
Jai Shri Mataji. What is Anand or joy, and how do we feel it? So now, from the earlier two lectures, we have understood two aspects of Sat-Chit or truth attention, and how to make our own attention subtle to become a drop into that super consciousness of Sat-Chit-Ananda or truth attention joy. One speech was given on 1985 called Nirananda, given in Vienna, Austria, and the second one during Sahasrar Puja seminar, again in 1985, given in Luxembourg, Austria. So now what is this joy or Anand? We will now listen to two speeches of Shri Mataji where she explains that this joy is so absolute that this absolute cannot be explained. There is no analogy to it. It is absolute. Atulaniya. It cannot be compared. Where there is joy, but no happiness or unhappiness, because happiness or unhappiness comes from ego. But joy is permanent. So we start experiencing various types of joy as we grow deeper and deeper into Sahaja Yoga, and each of these are our own experiences, and we cannot describe it but feel it within ourselves. So she explains that when we grow in Sahaja Yoga, we get different types of joy. We also have gross joys like Sharir Anand or joy of the body, or Manasanand joy of our mind, and Ahankar Anand, or joy of the ego. And we progress to slowly to subtler and subtler joys, like when we feel the spirit, we get a joy called Swa Anand, or joy of the self. When we give realizations to others, we get Par Anand, or joy of the other. When we get our well-being, our physical health, mental health, emotional health, and that becomes okay, we get a joy which is called Brahmanand. At the Vishuddhi level, we feel Krishnanand or Leelanand, where we feel the Madhurya, the sweetness in our personality. We can see the joy of the play. When we see our generosity, we get Shivananda. When we are with children, we get Ganeshanand. Because our nerves start soothing down as we settle in Sahaj Yoga and we experience these various types of joy. But finally at Sahasrar, we feel the Nirananda, which is the joy of Mahamaya, of the Adishakti, which cannot be described. All the joys that we feel put together is this Nirananda. So here the Sahasrar opens completely. We just become a drop into the ocean of this super consciousness of Sat-Chit-Ananda, and this grace just pours into our being, and we just enjoy being one with it. We enjoy the yoga, the union with our Creator. So Shri Mataji says our Sahasrar becomes like something that sucks this joy and sucks the joy being poured into our being by the Adishakti. So we just drop into complete silence, complete peace, complete nirvicharita, no thoughts, complete relaxation, but we remain fully alert and conscious of the super consciousness just pouring her blessings into our nerves. In the second speech, extract of Sahasrar Puja 1985, where we will hear how she explains about the words Ni and Nihi and Nira. Ni means without. That means when we combine this word with Mala, it becomes Nirmala, which means without or devoid of any blemish. But the second word is Nihi, which means sheer or absolute. Also Nira means the same. So when we say Nirananda, means absolute or sheer joy. The only nothing but joy, just pure joy. So the only way to reach it is to keep negating all the gross myths within us by saying, not this, not this. And then what we finally achieve is the absolute. And this absolute starts communicating within as joy pouring into our being. So we automatically become, when we completely surrender to it, we let go all our effort, we become that. This great power of truth, attention, joy, which is called Sat-Chit-Ananda, is absolute love, absolute power, absolute compassion. When we surrender, we feel it spontaneously by the grace of God. Come, let us now listen to this wonderful speech in a state of meditation. Jai Shri Mataji.
Niranand. See, you can only describe it. You cannot explain. Where there is complete joy, then there is no happiness and unhappiness. You do not feel happiness or unhappiness. These are the qualities of the ego and superego. In Sahaja Yoga, as you grow from one to another, there are different types of anandas. Like we can say the spirit, when you see the spirit, you get an anand called Swanand. That means you feel your spirit, yourself, and you feel very happy. Then you give realization to others, you get Paranand, joy of others. But when you get the enjoyment of well-being in health, and materially all right, and everything in santosha, in complete satisfaction, then it's Brahmananda. And like that, you start feeling higher and higher joys within yourself, because your nerves start opening to new dimensions. So you can say that at the Krishna level, you get Krishnananda, where you get the sweetness, the madhurya. And when you see your generosity, then you get Shivananda. And when you be with children, you get Ganeshananda. And that can be described. All those can be described. But Niranand cannot be described because it's Mahamaya's joy. All these joys put together is Niranand. So there is no place for ego and superego at all. The complete Sahasrara is opened out, and nothing but the complete rapport is established with the divine, and there is a pouring of light all the time in the head and the light going back. That you have seen in my photograph. As if the Sahasrara becomes like a sucking child from the universal mother, sucking the joy inside, and it is again reflecting back. It would be like the waves reach the shores, and then they are again repleted, they go back, and then they form a pattern. Now the joy out of that pattern, how can you describe? The only thing about Nirananda is that you have Mahamaya so close and so far away. That's the speciality. Complete thought. Silence then, complete silence. You don't think. Just silence. You cannot put into words anymore. Because the words break with the force of the Anand. They cannot hold it. Alright? So the third state where he reaches, he gets the blessing of the word Nihi. Nihi. Nihi is the first word of my name. But in Sanskrit, when you combine it with Mala, then it becomes Nirmala. But the word is Nihi. Ni, which shakes little. Ni. That means sheer. Or when a R is added to it. But the first Nihi means without, devoid, and Nira means sheer. Like when you say Niranand, Niran, sheer Atma, sheer joy, Kevalam, the only. There's nothing but joy. But this word is used, Nira, or Ni, used in two forms as I told you. One for saying without or devoid of. The another form is the only, absolute. The absolute. So here the joy becomes nirana, absolute joy. Nothing but joy. It's complete freedom. So you have all kinds of joys. As I told you before, you have Swananda, the joy of the spirit. Then you have got Brahmananda, the joy of well-being. You have got Leelananda, Krishnananda, where you have the joy of the play. But when you reach the state of Sahasrara, it is Nirananda, means sheer, absolute joy. Though the name Nira is my name, it means absolute. So when you put such an adjective before anything else, it becomes absolute. Thus you become absolute. And when you are at that state of absolute, then there is no place for anything else to be there but yourself. But let us see what is absolute. That means it is not relative. It has no relative quality. Absolute cannot be compared. Atulaniya, it cannot be compared. It cannot be related to anything. It is absolute. It cannot be comprehended because it cannot be related to anything else through which we can comprehend. It is absolute. Whatever way you try to know it, you go away from absolute. Whenever you try to analyze the absolute, you are away from it. So this is what at Sahasrara you get, Nirananda. In different stages of Sahaja Yoga, we had to start from Sharira Ananda, means the Ananda of the body. Manasa Ananda, the joy of the Manasa, the sight. Then you can say Ahankara Ananda, where you have to have the satisfaction of the ego. But the state has now to be established within us is of Nirana. Then what is the question of fear? What is the question of talking about it? You cannot talk. Because how will you relate it? I cannot say it is like this, it is like that. There are no words for absolute to describe. Only by negation, not this, not this, not this, what remains is absolute. So you reach the state of absolute. And that is the state, a complete communication is established. And in that communication, you have nobody else but the absolute within you. That is the Sahasrara Puja you are here for. That is the level to which you should aspire. That should be the ascent which should be established within ourselves. We don't have to go to Himalayas. We don't have to do anything drastic. Remaining in this world, we have to become the absolute, the only, Kevalam. There's nothing like how for it. You just become. You just become like a flower becomes a fruit. It's all built in, within it. Allow it to work out. Just by surrendering, you become. Surrender, and you'll be surprised. You will be at the stage where you will enjoy your absoluteness. It is absolute love, it is absolute compassion, it is absolute power. The words stop, the description stops. You just become the absolute and feel your absoluteness through it with that oneness. If somebody is not with you, you don't worry. There's no company needed. You're alone, enjoying the absolute. There only you can enjoy the absolute in others also, in the best form, without seeing anything else but the absolute. May God bless you.
Jai Shri Mataji. So come, before we get into the meditative state, to be able to feel that joy. Before that, just let us listen to this another beautiful part of the extract of the first speech that we played of Sat-Chit-Ananda. At the end of the speech, Shri Mataji explains a beautiful description of Gokula. She gives a beautiful description of Gokula where Sri Krishna played his flute. And here she explains that what happens when our attention becomes subtle and drops into the ocean of Sat-Chit-Ananda. She says that when Sri Krishna played his flute, all the people, the women and men of Gokula, would leave their work, and whatever they were doing, they would get attracted like a magnet to the flute of Sri Krishna. The milk would be boiling, the food would be left, the people would leave their work. They would drop everything and run towards the murli, the flute. When they went there, they would just stand. And Shri Mataji describes it as Chitravata Sethade. Means it's just like a still picture, doing nothing, absolutely still, no movement of the body, just standing, listening with full attention and in a complete, like a meditative state to the flute of the Creator. So what was that, she asks. So it was the enjoyment of the murli, the flute, which they were just enjoying, absorbing, the joy which was coming, which was pouring onto them. That is the subtle of the joy, the ananda. It is like meditation. Same way Shri Mataji says our attention, our individual attention should become one with her attention, which is the collective attention, means one with God. And it should happen in a very, very sahaj way. That means spontaneously, without effort, just complete surrender. So, for that, our attention should become one with Atma, which is God. Our attention should be fully onto the Chitta, the collective Chitta, the vibrations, in just trying to feel it, in trying to absorb it, in complete surrender. And by removing our attention from the gross into the subtle. So she says it should be like the child who sucks the milk. Same way we have to just suck in the complete joy which is there in the Sat-Chit part, Sat-Chit-Ananda part of it, which is the super consciousness. It just fills our every pore in the body. So come, let us listen to this speech and then let us go into a silence of meditation and just let go and absorb this wonderful joy. Jai Shri Mataji.
Now, in a description of Gokul of Vrindavan, you must have read that when Krishna used to play his flute, all the women who were working, the gopis in the household, would leave every work, everything. The milk would be boiling, and the work was half done or full done. They were eating their food, or in whatever pose they were sitting, they would just get up and run towards that murli. And when they would go there, they would stand just like a picture, Chitravata se thade, just like a picture, no movement in the body, nothing, just standing and listening with full attention. What was so? He was not even speaking, just a murli being played, and all of them just listening like a picture. What was it? The enjoyment that they were feeling. The enjoyment they were enjoying within themselves, the joy that was pouring into them with that murli. Just standing and listening, that's all. What is that? That is the subtleness of that enjoyment. Just like meditation, they would stand. In the same way, your attention and mind should be on Sahaja, on your being one with God. You are one with God. Put your centrifugal force towards God completely. Put yourself in connection all the time with God, and the rest of the work is done. Yantravat, just like instruments, the whole thing will start. The human mind is used to do things in a ritual way, that they think that if you have to raise this house, now you have to dig first the foundation, then the piling up, and then you have those pillars, and then you have to have the roof. And that is how one after another they plan out things. But in God's own kingdom, there is no planning. You just sit down and just enjoy. If your attention is there, all the work is done. Full attention. And then he takes out work and give full priority to that. Do not compromise your way through. You have to help others also to come up.
So, must remember, for that also your attention should be on your Atma, on your spirit, on God. Completely one with Him in that joy. The whole heart is there, and with your both hands and with your both feet, with all your attention, you can pull out people because your attention is all the time fed, nurtured, and looked after. Then you will enjoy also the lifting of the people. Nothing can be all right unless and until you develop the subtlety of your attention. And they develop by receding your attention from all that is gross. Recede your attention whenever it goes too much into any thought like that. Oh, forget it. But into vibrations you pay full attention. Seeing vibrations, you pay full attention. Seeing your own vibrations, pay full attention. Other things you need not worry. They will be all looked after. That is how your attention is subtler in the kingdom of God. The style is different. When the lotus is in the mud and it has to come out, it finds its ways through many crevices and many holes in that mud. But when it is out in the open, absolutely liberated, free, then it does not go on dashing here and there, but just opens out and receives the beautiful dew. And the dew melts the fragrance in the lotus. Automatically the fragrance starts flowing. It's a different style altogether. It's a different method. It's a different way of life that is being sahaja. Just whether you are sleeping or you are awake, keep your attention.
Jai Shri Mataji. Come, let us now sit in silent meditation for some time. And let us pray to Shri Mataji. Shri Mataji, you have explained about the Sat-Chit-Ananda so beautifully. Now we humbly request you to please give us the experience of the Sat-Chit-Ananda, the Nirananda, which we know can only be touched in meditation, in Nishabda Dhyan, in silent meditation. Shri Mataji, we surrender this attention to you and we humbly pray that please raise our attention and make it one with Sat-Chit-Ananda. Let us sit in silence and allow this joy of Nirananda to just pour into us. Shree Mataji, we thank you for explaining this beautiful state of Sat-Chit-Ananda, for explanation on what is Sat. We are extremely grateful to you that we are able to feel this reality. We are able to feel the light of the Atma flowing through our being, flowing through our hands, flowing through our nerves. Shri Mataji, please let our individual attentions drop into this collective attention. And for that, please make our attention subtler and subtler away from the gross. And finally, Shri Mataji, thank you for making our attention so quiet, so one with God, and giving us this wonderful experience of Nirananda. We shall ever be indebted to you. Jai Shri Mataji. So let us say the three Maha Mantras, and then we shall raise the Kundalini and continue to sit in the state of meditation. Jai Shri Mataji.
May God bless you. May God bless you all. May God bless you all. May God bless you all.